Happy Monday, August 3rd. Can you believe we're in the last month of the summer? August, September, October, November. Okay, so we are now in the second month. So July, August, and September is Q3. So we're entering the second month of Q3 2026. How is everyone this morning? Are you doing well? I'm really excited. I'm Leslie Flowers, and this is Mind Over Matter Mondays. And this is where guest teachers in personal and professional and leadership development congregate to learn the basic principles in many different arenas so that we get clear on how to apply them to create lives of wealth, health, and happiness. And we learn through repetition. So while you may have heard, for example, today, Josette brings a very unique view to shadow work. We've had that topic before, but when we had it, it was someone else who was sharing about what shadow work is. And you were at a particular level of conscious awareness then, but you are likely at a higher level now. So it will sound new to you. And that's why you never want to say to yourself, I already know that. I've already heard that. Because you're always growing and you'll hear new things. So I'm really excited that you're here. And Kimberly Lechnick was here first. Thank you, Kimberly. Kimberly is one of our guest teachers. We have a collective of guest teachers who take turns every Monday teaching their special discipline. Now, these are people who are really well-known experts, and they're also people that are just beginning, right? That know certain things and have assimilated it to the point where they could teach others. Because as we learn, we're not ready to teach. We're in a state of confusion. But there comes a time that things become clear to us. Then we can internalize it and articulate it from our point of view. But we have to be clear about the concept and have heard it several times so that we recognize it in ourselves and then in others when they need to hear it. So let me just say hello to, so Kimberly is one of our guest teachers and her specialty is gratitude. Excuse me. Let's see who is here. I'm here. And Josette is here in the studio. Melanie Richards is here. Hi, Melanie. Melanie is also a guest teacher. I'm excited to have her. We need to check the calendar because I was looking for your name because she's coming up on the modality of trust. She's certified in the area of trust. It's a very curious, unique, and excellent, let's just say, character element for our leadership to really understand the ins and outs of trust, like listening, like perception, like all of the different intellectual faculties that we have that we're always developing. I'm really excited that Leigh Scheidel is here. And it's so good to see Leigh. Leigh and I are in a book, an anthology. We were just in an anthology called We Are More Than Our Diagnoses. And it was so much fun doing an anthology. Now our Friday sponsor is Guiding Brilliant Writers Publishing House. And so they now are filling spots for contributing writers for Thanksgiving around release of The Legacy Volume 4. So if you'd like to write in there, reach out to Nick. She's here. I'm so glad to see you, Nicole. And Leigh was part of the last one. She's a big supporter and is a beautiful digital artist. There's a lot about Leigh that you'll want to get to know. So I think she's just wonderful. And also, let's see, Rob Unger is here, a new friend. How are you, Rob? Yes, I'm well. I'm well. Thank you very much. I'm so happy that you're here. Today, you want to find really good value. We've got a special show. Well, every Monday is special. And the intro that you saw was created by Aaron Gibson from Soul Media Live Productions. And let me just, speaking of that, let me go ahead and take care of this. because we're very fortunate to have two sponsors here for this show each week. The 2350 Effect and the 2350 Network is our new sponsor. And our first sponsor, to which we're so grateful also, is Power Thinking Corporation, and now has an application on your iPhone, and that is run by President and CEO Stanley Green. So we're grateful to have show sponsors. And Rob, I'm so glad that you're here. And Lisa Fefik is here every other Tuesday afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern. Lisa has a panel discussion called the Metamorphosis Dialogues, where she delves in with her panel into all the ups and downs, ins and outs of being in any one of the stages of menopause. And she also produces a newsletter and gives us good advice on what to eat, even when it's outside menopause. So it's wonderful. And Lisa, I'm so glad you're here. She's a longtime supporter of this work. And look who's here, William Rochelle. Hey, William. You can call him Bill once you get to know him. And William has several live shows, Sunday and Monday nights at 10 o'clock. He has William's Wind Down, where you listen to soothing music and he talks in his soothing voice. And then also Sunday afternoon at 4 p.m., most every Sunday he does You Be You Live. So very happy to see you're here, Bill. I think you're going to love this topic today. There's Nicole. Hi, Nicole. So good to see you. She is our Friday sponsor, and she is the CEO and owner of Guiding Brilliant Writers Publishing House. And I'm so glad you're here too. It's wonderful. And oh, look. Jackie Hallberg is here. Hi, Jackie. Jackie has had Josette on her show. Jackie's show is Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, every Monday night, where she interviews two fabulous guests. And I'll tell you, we've all met some phenomenal people through Jackie's shows. So it's wonderful, truly. And hello. So nice to have you here, Mr. Torre. I'm not sure I've seen you here before. Welcome. Very glad you're here. Please get to know everyone in the audience. And let's see who else we have here. We have the wonderful Linda Meyer. She's our narcissist specialist. She's not a narcissist, but she, as a guest teacher, has done the Narcissist Next Door. So, there are narcissists everywhere, right? And they are quite difficult to tangle with if you know anything about them. And oh gosh, I wish I had known 40 years ago what Linda has already taught me. And knowing about these folks doesn't make it good, bad, right, or wrong. It allows you to protect yourself, to recognize the patterns. There are certain behavioral patterns with the narcissist. And once you recognize them, you'll avoid them. But Linda's the one who tells you what to look for, and a lot of times why they are that way. And here's a wonderful Leanna Stock. Leanna is a registered dietitian. She has deep roots in being diabetes and diabetes care, and she's a wonderful photographer. She's up in Duluth, Minnesota, and always sends the most amazing pictures, right? Wintertime, we get to see foxes and lots of snow and ice. And now she sends us the most beautiful pictures all year long. It's wonderful, wonderful. And here's Christy D. Williams, the biggest supporter on LinkedIn. She is the LinkedIn live host, customer service representative extraordinaire. Get to know Christy. Always there, always supporting. I often thought that she was the one who created a rising tide lifts all boats, but I know it wasn't her. But that is who Christy Williams is for me. And this is who you are for me. I've taught myself to look for your greatness, and every one of you has it. So when I look at you, I get you. I know who you are. I know a lot about you, and I find the good things in you, because they're always there. But sometimes we default to the things that aren't so good, don't we? It's true. It's true. Ashif. Yes. Hi, Ashif. Ashif is up in Toronto. Gosh, He's been coming to our shows together and being connected with all of us for several years. So, Ashif, he is our modern day Rumi. Be sure you check in and connect with Ashif. He has the most beautiful sayings that he posts frequently. There's the wonderful Jay Pasqua. He is our storytelling aficionado. And he and Americo DaCosta have a live storytelling journey show 7 p.m. every Thursday evening. So you might be wondering how I remember all this. Because the older I get, my memory is getting worse. But keep in mind that repetition is the first law of learning. And every week I do a carousel with all these people's lives. Oh, and I forgot to say that we've got something big with the 2350 network and a big event coming up soon. And Christy is part of that. And Linda Meyer is a speaker in that. And I know that I saw Jackie, so I better hurry up and get through this. Okay, so I can get down to Jackie. Or maybe I already did Jackie. I don't remember. Anyway, she deserves a second one if I have forgotten. And here is Sharon Rose. She is also a teacher. She's our SQ specialist. There's IQ, EQ, UQ, ELQ. Then there's SQ. Do you know what SQ is? You'll have to ask her. She's the only one who is the SQ that I know of. There's Sajid Kumar. He is the guy up in Canada that keeps us all apprised of what's going on in careers there. The measurements, all the information you need to understand the career path and how human resources works in careers in Canada. That's the best I can do, my friend. You have I thought it said Toronto. It's tornado. Oh my gosh. That is not a good thing. Holding the right thought for you that it bypasses where you are. Sajid Kumar. All right, let me see. Lots of wonderful people here. Let's see. Jackie says, oh, fantastic. Okay, so the interesting thing that happens in these communities, in our community, is we often will promote one another. And so Jackie is going to bring on Nicole and several of the authors with We Are More Than Our Diagnoses, Volume 2. And that book really is, everybody has got something that isn't perfect, right? And there are all sorts of diagnoses from soup to nuts. And society shuns us in particular ways if we don't fit right in the middle of the road. These are people that have overcome their diagnoses and gone on to be extreme achievers. My personal belief is that when that element was not included in their psyche, if you will, that the universe and God put something else special in there, because all the people I know that are neurodivergent are geniuses. Absolutely doing things that most of us wouldn't dare do or are afraid to do. So 9:00 tonight, p.m. Eastern, a great show for you to be there. All right, I think we're getting close here. Let me make sure. All right, we've got a nice group of people here today. Okay. Good. All right, so let me move this out of the way and bring up our beautiful co-host. Absolutely so excited to have this woman here, honestly. Hello, Josette. How are you?
Good morning, Miss Leslie. Good morning, everybody. I am blessed beyond measure and so excited to be here today.
Oh, that's so wonderful. I'm going to do something interesting here. I'll see if I can do this. No, it's not going to let me do this, I don't think. Oh, maybe I can. I just wanted to move you out of the way of the comments so that you aren't covered up by the comments, but we can still see them. There we go. All right, perfect. All right, so everybody knows you, or almost everybody knows you, Josette. How are you this morning? You're out in Texas, right?
Yes, I'm in El Paso, Texas. I'm wonderful, thank you.
And what's the weather like out there today and this
It
week?
it is beautiful, very sunny. It's the desert, so it does get hot, but right now it's nice.
Oh, that's fantastic. Let me get ready for something because I want to share everything with everybody. How you know her now? If you look on LinkedIn, and you'll see, it has all these different. She's the ultimate success underdog. If you haven't heard her story, she's a filmmaker and a producer, and she has PhDs. And really, the thing about Josette is she really was the underdog and is no longer the underdog. She is a visionary filmmaker, and she's a creator in multi disciplines and the founder of her own production company, Josette XMP Productions, where she transforms powerful lived experiences into compelling visual stories that inspire, educate, and elevate underrepresented voices. So, welcome and tell us about you. What would you like us to know?
Oh, that's a very big question, Miss Leslie. I am the happiest person I know, and this topic, shadow work, is very important to me, and I will dive into why. So I hope you have a cup of tea, a cup of cacao, of coffee, because I might get a little uncomfortable, and I want you to be comfortable being uncomfortable today. It's a little bit, it's very personal, and so that's why I apply it and I teach it because it's part of my healing process as well. What would you like to know? That's a very wide question. You are muted, Miss Leslie. I'm so sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. Whatever comes to you as we're moving through this that you want to share, right? So, one of the things that fascinates me is, your PhD. Share with us what PhD or PhDs do you have, and in what area are they in? I'm curious.
My PhD is in interdisciplinary health sciences. I published the first orthoethnographic dissertation, which helped me prove my medical case was a demyelinating disease in different countries. And it also became a stepping stone for my current production. So, one of my productions is Homeless with a PhD, and that's a documentary tracing my health journey, which is ongoing. And I also have some certifications in neuroscience. I'm very fascinated by brain rewiring techniques, and so that's one of the methods I apply. The shadow work is not technically neuroscience, but it was beneath the umbrella of psychiatry in the 1900s.
Yes. Oh, psychiatry or psychology? If it was
Psychiatry, well,
1900s.
so Carl Jung in the 1900s was a Swiss psychiatrist,
Okay.
and so he started writing about it very heavily in 1912, the shadow work, until 1921, and then in the 1950s it started being incorporated into regular psychology umbrellas of therapy.
Okay. So, how does that work with, Jung? Then he's known as a psychologist, right? But what about poor Freud? I mean, he was also, wasn't he? He was Jung's teacher. So why don't we hear very much about old Sigmund?
They all somewhat tackled the theory of analytical psychology.
Ah,
And but the true creator of that term, the shadow work that we're going to see today, is Carl Jung.
okay, excellent, excellent. Okay, so how was that for a question?
That was a big question. That
I
was
know, I know.
very.
Well, because and you don't even hear about Thomas Troward, who was the head of mental science right around 1900. You don't hear about Genevieve Behrend, who wrote the book on visualization, the short book that, honestly, to Pete, if you just read her book, she studied with Thomas Troward, you will be a master manifester, right? It is the exact, right? So, but none of this information about manifestation or Troward or mental science is taught in conventional training. So, isn't that interesting? And why is that? Who knows? Anyway, let's get into our show. How about that? Let me move us. I know, where is my favorite? There we go. There we go. And this gives us room for the sponsor banner. And I will make this tall. And here we go. Are you ready, my friend? All right.
I am ready.
So you're on the hot seat here. This is all about you. What are we looking at? And by the way, the QR code will show up toward the end to find out more about Josette and her company. So, what are we looking at here? What are you doing? And who is that little puppy over on the right? Share with us something about you that we wouldn't know on LinkedIn, Josette.
That little puppy is actually quite massive. She is my service dog. Her name is Pepper. She's my service dog, so I guess that's something that you wouldn't know unless I told you. And she's my family. I'm an animal lover, but she's so much more than just a pet to me. She truly is family and my rescue.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's wonderful. And what were the first picture? Was that a photo shoot? Were you doing something in corporate? How was that photo taken? And where were you and when was it?
That was a very recent picture, actually. I am blessed beyond measure in El Paso, Texas. I work with a few volunteers. They are local photographers who take my picture. They use their talent and their time for free to have me in magazines and podcasts, to have professional things to be included in my portfolio. So his name is Mike Catalan in El Paso, Texas. I highly recommend him as a photographer. As you can see, he made me look 20 years younger. I love it.
You look like a kid anyway, believe me. But I hear you. I hear you. And listen, do us a favor after the show. Go into the comments and drop his contact information. People won't remember it from here, but they may be ready for photographs. And this is the listen for the answer. Everybody that's here, listen for an intention. What is your intention today, everybody? What is it that you want to walk away with today about shadow work? You've heard about it before. You know it's Carl Jung's work, and you know something about it. I see it very much as our fears, the darker side of us, but that's my interpretation, which is not the official by any means. It's certainly my observation and an easy way for me to relate to the uglier side of myself, which I have pushed the heck out over the years by simply looking for the greatness in you. Honestly, I tell you that that automatic negative reaction disappears when you have repeatedly, intentionally, and purposely made yourself look for the goodness in others. Because in order to see it in others, you have to have it yourself. See, the narcissist, as an example, doesn't have empathy, doesn't really care about anybody else. So they won't see goodness in others because they don't see any in themselves. So the more that you look for the greatness in others, and the size of the goodness doesn't matter, your own muscle of greatness grows in direct proportion to its use, like any muscle. So yeah, I love this. I love this. So let us get into this now. As I do each week before the Monday, we have a lovely conversation about the topic so that I understand it, so I can ask good questions. So here we go, Josette. Let me make sure Catherine Chadwick is here. I want to say hello to my friend Catherine Chadwick, and let me see who else is here. We've got a missionary, Matthew, coming in, and Kaleem Akhtar is coming in. Miss Natalie Thomas. All right, my dear. So you began with until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And that was Carl Jung. So take it away. Give us an introduction on Jung and all of that. And then let's move into these 5 points that we're going to cover today. And we have 30 minutes. Please proceed.
Okay, no pressure.
No pressure.
So, as previously mentioned, Carl Jung was a Swiss psychiatrist. He was very much one of the main creators of the analytical psychology framework theory, actually. And so, from 1912 to 1921, he dedicated his work to shadow work. And this is what we're focusing on today. A lot of people don't want to hear about shadow work because of the misconceptions that they have of, oh, this is diving into something evil and it's making excuses for those dark things in the world that are happening. And that's truly a misunderstanding, a misconception. It's an intentional reflective practice where we sit with ourselves, with the dark part of ourselves. And so the good news is that we all have those. No one is fully free from shadow. But also, shadow work has two sides. There are positive sides to shadow. It's called the golden shadow, and I will dive into that in a little bit because I'm getting a little nervous.
Oh no,
I'm
no, don't
getting
be.
a little nervous. I need to practice
Oh,
more, so you need to invite me more to shows so I'm not
well,
nervous.
well, you can sign up. You can register for two every 3 months. So that's a beginning, or at least that's helpful. So there's nothing
Um,
to be nervous. Listen, take a deep breath in through your nose and exhale long and low through your mouth. We've just reset your vagus nerve.
Thank you, Miss Leslie.
You're welcome.
So, what is shadow work and what is it for? It's aimed to bring hidden emotions to light, where we face those beliefs that are behind them, those fears, and where we regulate our nervous system. So, talking about nervous system regulation, that's one of the core goals of shadow work, to be able to watch our behavior and prevent certain things or rewire it, change the narrative. The purpose is not to eliminate the shadow because that truly doesn't fully happen, but it's to integrate them in a healthier way. So, like the quote says, whatever we don't bring to our consciousness, we cannot truly heal. And so, it's really hard to have our nervous system work in our favor. um, what is the shadow? Shadow is the repressed emotions. So when we feel ashamed of ourselves. So I'll give you very personal examples in this presentation, and this is where it's going to get very uncomfortable, and I will tell you why it's so important for me to talk about shadow work. Repressed emotions, such as, I am so ashamed because I have been judging that person without knowing what they've gone through. I am so angry that my friends are not replying to me when I need them to. How selfish of them, right? But then we also dive into guilt. I feel so guilty that I'm not able to be the person that I want to be with my family members. And so maybe I'm not deserving of good things because I am not being the perfect daughter or the perfect sister, the perfect niece, etc., etc. And it's truly triggered by trauma, social pressure, cultural norms, and religious belief. So those are the umbrella. You have others, of course, but for instance, a lot of us will experience a trauma, and because we are repressing it, the nervous system does not regulate in a manner where we are allowed to heal. And shadow work is moving towards that healing. So the golden shadow that I mentioned is the positive side of the shadow that we also tend to repress because of cultural norms, such as leadership. Who would know, right? A woman in leadership? Well, maybe I shouldn't be a leader because I'm a woman. Or religious belief. I'm not deserving of good things because I did blank, I committed a sin, or whatever it is. Or social pressure that you need to be a certain way with your family members because it is to be expected. But creativity is part of the golden shadow. Confidence is part of the golden shadow. Assertiveness, right? So whenever we label somebody aggressive, interestingly enough, more so woman, why do we say they are aggressive instead of assertive? That's part of the golden shadow that we tend to hide. Oh, maybe I should be submissive because I am a woman. I shouldn't be front page of blank.
So let me ask you a quick question in here. So where does repetition of thought come in here? because we've had a negative experience, we've had trauma. And in my work, I'm looking for our resurrecting the visual image and feeling the experience over and over again, because thought is a cellular activity. And when we resurrect, so where in the way you're explaining this, where does the repetition of thought play into the power of the shadow elements?
It's massive. It's That's why we have to bring the unconscious conscious, because the amount of times in a day that we think about those negative things that we're ashamed of, or that we brush it off because we don't want to feel like a bad person,
Right.
is constant. That's why shadow work is the reflective, intentional practice of, why do I feel that way? And how do I move towards healing? So once it's conscious, it's a constant practice of rewiring the brain. Did I answer your question, Miss Leslie?
You
Because I
did,
tend
you did,
to.
because the
Okay.
rewiring of the brain comes from the repetitive thought, right?
Yeah.
So every time you remind yourself of something negative, it deepens the wiring. But as you actually look for the golden shadow, which I see as your higher side, your objective, um, your conscious awareness, the more it can be repeated, which is what we're doing here, then new neural pathways can be built that become the default. So right now, would you say that shadow and the shadow side of things is the stronger between the shadow and the golden side? And then what would you do, or is that going to be in the 5 practices, to begin to counterweigh the shadow side with the golden side?
That's a very deep question, and I do not want to come up to the audience like I'm a therapist of any
No, no, no,
kind.
no, 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 no,
But,
no, no. I understand. Oh, I'm
but
sorry.
no, no, not at all, not at all. But I do think that this is such a deep, intense personal work that is very different from person to person and experience to experience. So
Mm.
before we go into the 5 steps, I'm going to tell the audience the little drama that is. I hope you have your coffee and you've done your meditation to hear this, because I am intentionally going to be extra vulnerable here. And I am welcoming those judgments because I understand that judgment is a reflection of your shadows, not mine. So,
Isn't it true that the things you find in other people you have yourself? And so we're actually looking for the things we like or don't like in ourselves. That's why I teach myself to look for the good things, because the default is I can find something wrong with everything. Please proceed.
yes, absolutely, no problem. So, for those of you who don't know a little bit at all about my story, I grew up in south of France and I had a wonderful family. That was my dad's family. But I met my birth mother when I was 4 years old, and I remember being that hypersensitive little girl that experienced the world way too much, meaning I still suffer physically, emotionally, mentally about that cockroach that those kids in the classroom squashed. But that same little girl at 4 years old meeting her mother, and I'm talking in third person as an avoidance way, is also lived with passionate, visceral, wait for it, hate towards my birth mother. And it's something that I struggled so much as a little girl because I grew up in a religious household. I was taught to respect my parents, to honor my parents, to constantly be thankful for the life I was given. And so I repressed those visceral feelings throughout my life. My birth mother would call on Christmas, and I would remember feeling sick days before the call, that this woman would call, because I had to be nice. And so I was nice, but I was nice because I wasn't being genuine, I wasn't being authentic. Yes, I love you too, I would say, but I would truly feel sick throughout my life, and I had no words. I had just so much shame about those feelings, because how could I feel empathy towards anyone in the world, including psychopaths, because I understand everyone is the product of their trauma, their experiences, their cognitive abilities, their conscious versus unconscious feelings and thoughts. And how can I feel this way with no root cause? Like, I did not understand why I felt this way towards this person. So when I turned 18, I decided I would meet that person to try overcoming these feelings. And I had that visceral confirmation that I needed that person to be far away from me. And so I worked a lot on forgiveness, but it's really hard to forgive what you don't know you're forgiving for. What for? That person is the victim of her circumstances, of her addictions, of her mental health, and I didn't even know what had happened to me as a child. So I dive in now into the purpose of shadow work, which is to reduce that emotional reactivity. I have learned, unfortunately, that the shame I felt towards those feelings and the guilt that I carried throughout my life were the shadow that I needed to face the most. Meaning, what you all think, and I know that most of the crowd is like, oh, I have a technique, I have a therapy, we need to fix that. That is human instinct. But that comes from judgment, believe it or not. Only the one person sitting at that place knows the time and the way working through their own shadows. So even though I appreciate everybody is trying to rescue my soul from going to hell, those religious conditioning that we have internalized, I think this is also a mirror to yourself if this is your reaction.
I have a
And
question about this, the
absolutely,
forgiveness.
absolutely.
So can my experience personally with difficult forgiveness, it all hinged on me forgiving myself first for not being able to go back and be better, to take away that shame. Like I could have been better at this. What if I had done? And so once I forgave myself for the impossible, then I was able to forgive another. Now, how does that play into your example, or does it at all, Josette?
Oh, yes, absolutely, Miss Leslie. This is why I'm speaking about this now intentionally in front of audiences, which I know largely will judge me for this and categorize me in certain ways, because I have overcome the fear of the perception that the world has towards me, and I understand that shadows are to be integrated, not even forgiven, because they have a purpose. And so the purpose might be a lesson 10 years from now that I haven't yet met. But for now, it has been, wow, you know what? I am so courageous to mention in front of strangers that I cannot be in the same room than this woman because I would become, first and foremost, a danger to myself to prevent hurting her because I'm capable of horrible things. And the freedom that I feel now at 40 years old after having had to sit with my shadows intensely and doing EMDR and all types of therapies is so liberating to say, I understand that the world is going to perceive me a certain way, have those judgment and titles, and I am so okay with it because this is where they sit with their experiences, and this is where I'm at with mine. So the forgiveness, you're right. I have had to forgive that little girl that didn't want to say, I hate that woman. Why do you make me talk to her every Christmas? Why do you make me say, hi, I love you back? Um, I hate myself for having to go to church and internalize that I'm not worthy because I'm not following that commandment that is top of the line in any faith group there is. So I'm living with like the biggest sin and internalizing that, okay, I'm not worthy because I must be a bad person since I feel such a visceral thing that most people never experience towards anyone, but on top of that, I'm experiencing it towards the person who gave me life.
Yeah.
So the stigma level so much higher. And I feel that through that forgiveness, which was towards me, um, I truly was able to reduce my emotional reactivity. But I also know that exposure therapy is still not for me. So for those of you who do not know what exposure therapy is, facing your fear or whatever negative emotion you are rejecting from yourself up front. So let's say you're afraid of snake, it's being in a room filled with snake. For me, it would be in a room with my mother. And I know that this is not for me, because when you know that you become directly a danger to yourself or to others, this is where your consciousness is here. This is what shadow work is for. That this is not the time, this is not the way. So a lot of people don't understand this because that's not your experience. And a lot of people have told me, maybe if you just went with her for a couple of weeks, locked up, you would, maybe, but no. And so there are 5 steps, right,
Well,
to
okay,
start.
let's hang on a second. We've got 2 more points, and I want to take a moment to don't worry about it, to acknowledge our sponsors, okay? Because without them, let me just let's go over here to here. We'll go to here. There we go. So let's take a look at our sponsors. Okay, so first of all, so Power Thinking Corporation is a CBT based personal development program that's been around here with Stanley Green for 8 years, and it's now all on an app. So his daily affirmations, his shows each week, 2 lives on Wednesday morning and Wednesday evening, all sorts of phenomenal things going on, and you get to try it free. If you go to your app store and look for this P, then you will be able to download Power Thinking Corporation. And if you need to know more, reach out to Stanley. He's here in the room. He was our first sponsor. Stanley, I'm so grateful to you for taking a chance and supporting us. And so now what I want to do is I'm going to move this because I want to show you something else. So we have another sponsor. Let me see if I can get us little so we don't take up too much of the room. All right. Let me see if I can get this working. I'm having a good time doing all of this, by the way. Oh, no. Ooh, here we go. And there we go. I'm a sponsor, and I've done that for several years, and I've been a speaker, but this year I get to be a moderator of one of 2 panels. And I'm so super excited about that. So let's bring this back up. See, now we can continue on. And I guess we can just, let me just, we can leave it like this. All right, so now we're getting ready to take a look at, let me make you nice and big. And this one I can pull me down here. And this one I don't even need to have here. I'm playing with the frames here. There we go. And save. Okay. There we go. All right. So we got down. What is shadow work? You gave us an introduction, Jung, and analytical psychology and what shadow work is, why we do it, what we're looking for, what the purpose is ultimately. So give us a one sentence before you move into the 5 steps. Give us a one sentence purpose of shadow work. If you could determine in the world, what is the one overall purpose of shadow work?
It would be emotional. I was sorry. It's to make a conscious decision, an intentional practice of reflecting the parts of ourselves that we reject or suppress to reduce emotional reactivity.
Very nicely said. Super. I'm trying to play with these. I'm not doing the greatest job. All right. So now let's get into the 5 steps to start the shadow work. And keep in mind, everybody, on September 14th, Mind Over Matter Monday is going to take over the stage with 6 experts, guest teachers, and they're going to have 6 practices that you can begin after you watch this telesummit. Now, for example, one of them I'm hoping will be the 5-step to start the practice of shadow work. The idea here is that when we're going for a big dream, we do not know how we're going to do it. And that's one of the measures, is that you don't know how. But we're all a little tentative. So it seemed to me that why couldn't we give at least the first few steps? Because once we get into action, fear will subside. Like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. If I knew just a few steps to get into action, I'd be on my way. So be sure you mark your calendar of September 14th. And guest teachers, do let me know if you want to be one of the 6. And I've already asked Josette if she will. So please take it away with the 5 steps to start the practice. If this is appealing to you and you're curious about it, I always suggest one thing at a time, and that's why the 6 will be a smorgasbord, because you don't want to try to do them all. You want to only do one, but maybe that one will be on the stage that day. So please proceed, and thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Ms. Leslie. The
Of
first
course.
step is to notice the emotional trigger. What is it making me feel and why? So for you all is it's making me feel uncomfortable that Josette describes being a potential danger to herself and her mother. Why? Because of cultural norms. That would be an example for you all. For me, it's I feel visceral hate and being a danger to myself because I don't want to hurt anybody else, including that human being who's my mother. And why is a little complex for my situation. I'll dive into that in step 3. The second step is to observe without judgment, and this is one of the hardest things to do, right? We judge people because of the way they walk, the way they dress, the way they talk. That is an issue in ourselves. We are
Yes.
judging the world because we have things to address within ourselves. And it's so hard to admit because it's part of the human conditioning, right? That we've been trained to do that after from 7 years old onward. Something inside me that needs attention. So I observe my judgment to the world without judgment to try figuring out what it is within me that needs attention. The third step is very important in all healing practices, is finding the origin. And so when do I feel this way? And what beliefs are formed around it? Well, I feel this way personally only when I think about or hear something about my mother or worsening the closer I am. Um, but the origin for me is very difficult because I will never fully know the full picture. I've had bits and pieces from her, some of her family members, from my father, which I loved very much. The side of her story is that I'm the product of abuse and rape. And the side from my dad's story is that I'm the product of coercion and prostitution. manipulation, things like that. Either way, I know that the first 3 years of my life were very difficult because she lived with schizophrenia and drug addictions, alcoholism. So I went through a lot of abuse during the first few years of my life, and also before I was born. So conception, right? I'm carrying generational trauma, which many people don't understand, passed on through the genes, but also gestational trauma, which is during pregnancy, right? The substance abuse and emotional turmoil that she might have lived with. So that might be the origin of my feelings. That being said, I will never fully know, because how could I? Although we can get insight from dreams and things like that. Then the step 4 is to accept those hidden parts. Okay, I have to accept to myself self first, and eventually, hopefully, also to the world, as part of being authentic, that I judge a lot of people. I do, and I'm working towards changing this, towards alchemizing it into my better self.
Yes.
I have to accept that I am feeling some very difficult feelings towards my birth mother that I'm not proud of. And this part exists, and I want to understand it. The 5th part is integration. It's when you understand who you are, that this is not fully who you are. This is a bit of the puzzle who has a purpose. It has a purpose for you to learn one or several lessons, and it helps you to choose those behaviors. So for me, I don't want to be a danger to anyone, so I will keep away from that person. That's the first thing, right? We can make those conscious choices while healing. Did I go overboard? Because I know you have a time limit.
No, 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 no. That's excellent. So run through the first one is notice the trigger, how you feel. What was the second one?
To observe without judgment, observing
Observe
that trigger.
yourself,
Yeah.
right, without judgment. In other words, don't be upset. Just look, observe, listen. And the third one is
To find the origin when possible, or you can build towards that.
find a source, and that would give you some clarity if you were able to find the source. You may never, and I wonder if you ever really have to find it, but it would be helpful. What is the fourth one?
To accept hidden parts. So all of the hidden parts of this is part of me. So I am not just the great person that I want to appear to the world. I
Mhm.
also have shadows, and here they are.
Sure, sure. I got it. And that's really accepting yourself. Maybe that's where authenticity will grow and emerge. And then the fifth one.
And the 5th one is to integrate it, to understand, to learn from those shadows, and to choose the behavior towards growth.
Got it. I want to thank you so much for being so sensitive to the time. Right. When we get talking, it's so easy to keep talking, right? I'm the worst one for this. And also, I'm so grateful to you for your level of vulnerability and transparency. We never know who is in the audience that may have something that they're dealing with, and this could touch them, move them, and inspire them. So, for all of you who set an intention for what you wanted to get out of this presentation by Dear Josette, did you have one? Did you have a moment where something became clear to you or you got very curious? Right? So, the next thing here for us before we say goodbye to our dear Josette. Okay, let me fix this. I'll have to come over here. Let's do this one. There we go. Better. I was playing with all of those frames. So, if you want to know more about Josette, really the best way you can scan this and connect with you that way, right? But then you can also connect with Josette via direct message on LinkedIn to schedule a Zoom call. And so I'm going to remove this temporarily. Is there anything you want to say about this?
No, thank you all for joining. Thank you, Miss Ashley,
Okay.
for having me.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, so Josette, last words here. What is one thing And we've had a lot of information today. And by the way, you did a beautiful job of laying out the basic foundation because I understand it so much better now. I've been listening and learning, and it's becoming slowly clearer and clearer. And today I got almost crystal clear. So thank you for that. So, what is the one thing that as we leave and go into our week today, very busy, what is the one thing that you would have us remember? Oh, you didn't go over the 5 key takeaways. Give us a couple of those takeaways.
No, it's okay, Miss Leslie. I think
Okay.
I covered it in the
Yes.
presentation.
Okay.
I think once we are courageous enough to truly look at our shadow without judgment, and we understand that they have a purpose for healing instead of repressing them, we become a better person. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be healed fully instantly, but that conscious, that unconscious being brought conscious is a massive step forward that most people don't have the courage to take. So if you're here today, I hope that me being that vulnerable, because I could have chosen anything about petty things, about being jealous of ex-boyfriend, but I chose something that is so not accepted by the world intentionally, so that you would see what courage looks like and that you're still worth it. They are here to teach you something.
That's absolutely beautiful. You've graced us, every one of us, with your presence. And I will move you back in the studio. This has been one of the most delightful teachings. Very clear, very succinct. And do let me know if you'll be on the September 14th panel, okay? Because those 5 steps are perfect. Have a fabulous weekend. I wish all your dreams come true for you, Josette. And I'll move you into the studio, my friend. All right, a couple of more things here that, yeah, we did that. Hold on, let's move over here to this. All right, everybody, brand new series starting this Friday. We're going to take it. This will be the last one for this year that looks like this. It's going to be a little different. Get ready to hold on to your hats. We're going to get into the thought mechanics series where I'm going to show you how to master the invisible process behind achievement. You're going to master that process, own it. And so we're going to do Think and Grow Rich, but we're going to focus on mastering achievement in your own world. So I'm very excited about that. You are so welcome, Miss Natalie. Nice that you're here. Absolutely. Okay. And if you've been thinking about starting a live and you're nervous, tentative, afraid to speak up, don't know any of the technical things, I will push you out of the nest. 5 weeks, 5 hours, $500. There are others that'll take you deeper, but I've done this before. I love doing it. I'll be your producer for your first 3 shows. We will spend time together. I will show you how to focus on the camera, to let go of the script, to understand the technical part so you can focus on content. In 5 weeks, by the middle, I have one opening now in August. That means by the middle of September, you could have a 30-minute live show running every week or every other week. Has that been your dream? It's a lot of people's dreams. I'm here to help you do that. There are other people that do much deeper, and you know who they are. I love them. But sometimes this is all we really need to get up and get going. And it's a lot of fun. I love doing it. All right, everybody, that completes today. It's 12 o'clock. Be sure to hop into Shawn Michaels live. He is at noon today, and we're sitting right on noon. And I'm going to run for the outro the 2350 promo for the Workplace Wellness Telesummit, October 9th and 10th. Hope to see you there, everybody. Bless you all.